Welcome to Let's Talk Tech with NVTC, a digital series exploring tech's most notable trends, new innovations, digital transformations, lean agile principles and mindsets, the future of work, and more. We'll introduce next-gen leaders from member companies of the Northern Virginia Technology Council and learn about the great impact they are making in our region. I'm your host, Philip Nathram. Welcome back to Let's Talk Tech with NVTC. Today's episode will feature TalkDesk's Global Vice President of Product, Mimi Nguyen, and the Director of Customer Experience Strategy, Clayton Luget. And as always, we'll have our Did You Know segment at the end. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Accenture, American Systems, Consumer Technology Association, General Dynamics Information Technology, ICF, MITRE, TalkDesk, Uninet, and our media partner, iHeartMedia. You can find all of our episodes on Wonk FM and the iHeartMedia podcast app. Now, please help me welcome today from TalkDesk, Mimi Nguyen and Clayton Luget. We're going to be discussing AI and how it can transform your customer experience. Well, Mimi, Clayton, thank you both so much for joining us at Let's Talk Tech.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thanks, Philip. Talk with TalkDesk.
Yeah. That's great alliteration. This worked out really well.
Hard tongue twister.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to the both of you. Just looking at TalkDesk and their journey and the things that they've done, sounds like you guys are having a great time, experiencing some success. We want to hear all about it, and really excited for this episode. But I think, both of you are actually in two separate places. Mimi, you're in somewhere fun, right?
I am in beautiful Portugal at the moment. Yes.
How'd you get there?
Well, it's a long story that I won't tell, but I did try to, I did move here at the very beginning of the pandemic. It was not a smooth journey, but I am here and I am loving it. But I did actually live in Northern Virginia area for a while. Did you know that?
No.
Yes, I still have my 703 number, family in Alexandria, and then on the Maryland side in Montgomery Village, I rested in the Herndon area for a spell. So it's like I'm coming back home to you guys.
Yeah, well, that's good stuff. Now, Clayton, you're in a fun spot too. You're down in Texas, right?
I am. So I'm in Dallas, Texas. So it is quite fun, particularly until you get to about mid-May through mid-August, mid-September. It's less fun then because it's more sweltering. But yeah, it's great this time of year.
Yeah, well, that's good stuff. Well, I'm glad that you're both here. This is a little bit of a homecoming, it sounds like, for Mimi and Clayton. Great to have you here. You're in warm weather. We're catching up to you around here, but we're going to have some fun today. But as I mentioned before, TalkDesk is having a great time, or it looks like they're having a great time. Just as someone who is a startup, and I spend a lot of time around entrepreneurs, the story here is one of success. And it looks like just recently, anyone who understands how this works, you go through your seed rounds and your angel investing and your A, and you start raising money and you start doing well and producing a product that works. You guys have just reached $10 billion in value after your Series D fundraising.
Right, yes.
That's exciting to hear. What was this newest raise of funds for? What makes you guys so successful? What do we have to look forward to?
Yeah, thanks for stroking our ego a little bit, Philip. Yeah, we're so excited about the funding. 10 billion valuation is just really motivating for our people. And certainly we've had tremendous growth. And when you take a look at our business, it's represented because we are seen as a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for contact center as a service. And if you know anything about this market, it's huge. And I won't get into numbers, right? Because depending on who you talk to, the numbers vary in terms of total addressable market. But the problem that we solve is actually a problem that almost every single business is trying to answer. And that is, how do I connect with my customers and engage with them in a valuable and meaningful way that drives up growth, profitability, and customer loyalty? And so I think if you frame it that way, there's just so much opportunity and value. And not only that, it's so important in this day and age where every business is digital, and your customer experience strategy can really make or break your organization, right? You can easily switch to another vendor and Google them. And so we're starting to see a lot of these trends around customer experience. You are starting to see roles like the CXO get created in organizations. It's relatively new, mostly attached to marketing. And then you're starting to see the contact center business also move out from IT, which has been traditionally been owned by IT for like the past 50 years, and now move into marketing. So there's just a lot of value and spend and need, and TalkDesk is really leaning into that to build that value and build that customer experience, but in a really easy way. And so, we're bringing in industry-specific solutions. We're leveraging automation to help make it easy for our customers, AI. So I guess maybe to wrap that up shortly, it's the market is huge. There is a big need. There is a lot of value that gets delivered from the problems that we're solving for our customers. And the contact center, it's back in fashion. We're the cool kids on the block now.
Yeah, I guess the gist of it is, especially if you're a business to consumer type of entity, or in any business that you do, your customers is one of your greatest assets, right? Maybe you have some IP, but those are the people that are going to support you, and you have to support them. And you bring up a good point. Like, there's a lot of people putting a lot of money, a lot of investment, getting back into actual human connections or some sort of direct connection with them. Clayton, I'd love to hear, what do you define customer experience as? What does that mean?
So it can certainly, depending on who you talk to, it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And it's, for better or worse, getting a little buzzworthy lately. I think the definition that resonates most with me is that it's simply how your customers perceive the interactions with your company. Obviously, Mimi kind of talked about this a little bit already, but every company is different. But we at TalkDesk really take pride in being not just customer focused, but we say customer obsessed. And I think that kind of really speaks to us. So how that looks for TalkDesk, at least, again, I can't put myself in every other organization, but we try to be viewed by our customers as not just a vendor. I think vendor is a bit of a dirty word around here. We are a partner. We're a strategic thought leader. We're trying to bring the organization forward in ways that maybe they don't even see. I think when we're kind of talking about before one of our customers becomes a potential partner, understanding what they're looking for and not only hearing their side of things, but we pride ourselves in being experts in this industry. So we try to also point out the blind spots they may not be aware of, and sharing that perspective to align on a strategy that makes most sense from both sides. And that usually means that the customer obsessions that we have kind of trickle down to a lot of our customers.
Yeah, I love this phrase, customer obsession. It just makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to think if I tried to become a partner of TalkDesk, because you're right, they have other options. But so let's talk a little bit about the two of you individually and what you do within the organization. Now that we kind of understand what you mean by customer experience, customer obsession, TalkDesk, their sort of origin story, where do you both fit in? How do you play together? Mimi, how do you overlap with Clayton? Clayton, how do you guys work together to help deliver what you deliver? And then I want to get into some specifics because I think there's a lot to learn here.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do want to comment on, the customer obsession part. It's not just about our customers feeling like TalkDesk is obsessed with them, right? It's helping to instill the same values into the businesses that we work with so that they can pass it on to their end customers, right? And really build that empathy that can create really good and amazing customer experiences for their end clients. Anyways, I am the vice president of product management for the contact center as a service. I've been with TalkDesk a few months, probably just as long as Clayton, I believe. And so I run the product strategy for the contact center side, and that's everything from our communication channels and technologies to how we route and optimize matching the right agent to the customer and pass important context between the two.
Yeah, what about you, Clayton?
Yeah, and so I'm a member of the customer experience strategy team here at TalkDesk. And so what that means is a couple of things. Perhaps that's before a customer becomes one of our partners, or even if it could also be after that fact. But what I try to do is understand their strategy. So not only, hey, why are you looking at TalkDesk or a solution similar to ours, but what are your overall organizational goals? Maybe it's growing your revenue or reducing your cost or being more customer centric. And then not only understanding kind of the strategy of them, but also the operational side. So get some really kind of nitty gritty, granular level metrics about their call center and what their organization looks like today. Like how many people are calling in, what are the different channels they use, how many agents do you have? And what not only understanding the strategic side of things, but also the operational lens helps us craft a solution that really will be the best for our partners. I think the really exciting thing, and a lot of the credit for this goes to Mimi and her team, we are building so many awesome products right now that I'm getting a little bit of whiplash just keeping up. But at the same time, we don't pull everything off the shelf and just give it to every customer, right? It's to be customer obsessed, we need to craft that solution, particularly as customers kind of crawl to walk to run with us. So my team helps to figure out what is going to drive as much value as possible, and then also kind of quantify that. So not only on the operations side, but then as well on the financial side. So you'll get a business case or an ROI model, just in case some of our partners or customers don't love Microsoft Excel as much as I do.
Yeah, and so Clayton feeds all this information back into the product organization so that we can have that perspective on, what is actually resonating with our customers, what are the challenges that they're having with, what can we make easier? Because we certainly don't want our customers to have whiplash when they're taking a look at technologies, right? There are frameworks that they can follow, but there are, different combinations of solutions, the way that you implement, the way that you think about your processes that, really do need to be tailored to that customer. And that's what Clayton's team helps us with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you said before that you look at, your customers as partners, right? Because you're going to be a consultant to them to help them understand what their challenges are and provide a custom solution, it sounds like, that meets specifically their needs. I'd be interested to hear, who's an ideal client for you? What type of industry can you support the best, or who would be the best person for TalkDesk to speak to? And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges you see and been able to solve for people that fit that profile, just to get a better understanding of exactly who you help.
I think, regardless of industry, regardless of company size, maturation of their current tech, the thing that I get excited with when I'm talking about potential partners or customers is just an openness to ideas outside their own. Because I think when you're talking to a company like TalkDesk, you're looking for some outside industry expertise, right? And there are 2,300 of us, or whatever current employee count is at TalkDesk. It changes so quickly. But we have a lot of great experts. And I think we are really good at bringing the right person in at the right time and having that subject matter expertise. So folks that are really open to sharing that customer obsession that we have and willing to accept new ideas and new ways of doing things. I think we talk about improving operational efficiency and agility, which a lot of times means doing what you're already doing, but doing it a little bit better. What we also love, and it's March 10th as we're recording this. If this were 2020, we would have a very different perspective on what being agile and nimble in the world means. So it's being open to the changing at the rapid pace of not just TalkDesk, but of all the markets right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And to answer your question around which market and industries we work best with, we work across them all. We have industry plays for healthcare and financial services and retail. But our mission is around customer experience and improving that customer support and customer service, right? And helping businesses who really care about supporting that entire customer journey throughout all of the touch points that customer has with their organization. If you're an organization that is super sales centric, we can help you there too. But I think our value is really in driving just really great supportive customer experiences to the end customer, right? Like making your customers feel really good, helping your customers get the value out of engaging with you immediately, and in a way that's convenient for them, because we're all busy.
Yeah, and in my mind, I guess when I'm hearing you guys talk, it sounds like anyone who has a product or it's a software as a service or has clients that would engage them or call them. I had an experience the other day with the accounting software I use to run my business, and I needed to speak to someone, and And that just sticks out at like that they had a platform and a mechanism by which I could communicate with them. And they probably could use some help from you guys. I don't know.
Maybe
so that's
so.
something we can, maybe I can be a referral for you guys. But the point is that it's, you mentioned banking, retail, anyone that has a customer base in large quantity that's going to have questions in how to use their product. And it sounds like you're going to customize something for them to help them be the best that they can be, specifically that may be different for others. But when you're doing that, there has to be some sort of challenges and trends that you see that are specific to certain industries. I'd be interested to hear what you guys are learning about that. And then we can get into some specifics of how you're helping to solve those through some machine learning, AI, and that sort of thing. I'm assuming that's what all this capital raising has been for.
Yes, we are definitely leaning into automation and AI. That's no secret, right? It's all over our website. Getting into industries, it does get very specific with industries and challenging, because when you think about an engagement system, you're likely connecting with a lot of proprietary or point solutions that's very specific to that industry, or even something like homegrown that you've created. You think about like healthcare with the Epic integrations, and then even these different industries have different regulations to follow. So it does get tricky, but there is like generally a few challenges that are common across all the industries and the markets that we work with, and maybe I'll try to articulate it with a story. So I told you I live in Porto, Portugal now. I actually tried to move here at the beginning of 2020. And if you rewind to this time in 2020, this was about the time where all the airlines shut down, right? Between the United States and Europe. Mm-hmm. My husband was already in Portugal. I was in the States, had put my house up for sale, had flights planned, and then the flights got canceled. What do? Of course, I call the airlines. How do I get rebooked? What's happening? This is really urgent. I need to get to Portugal. Estimated wait time, 1 hour. Yeah. Okay, stay on the phone. I'm going to get on the website and I'm going to try to self-service. Did not work. Open up a chat message while I was still on the phone. Saw that they had an SMS line. Also initiated an SMS. 1 hour went by. Did not get connected. Started a Twitter feed trying to find answers. Then went to the partner airline. They had a WhatsApp channel and I initiated a WhatsApp message. So what did I just do there? I just initiated 5 times the volume for this business. And if I was doing this, the hundreds of thousands of customers who were calling in were doing the exact same thing. And this magnitude of scale of volume of interactions was really difficult for the airlines to handle, but that pattern repeats itself across tons of businesses and industries just because everyone has access to, their cell phone and different ways of engaging, and that becomes really difficult. So how does a business optimize for that? The second challenge is we're in this age where a business should know who you are, right? They're capturing information about it. So when I finally got connected to the rep, she didn't know who I was. Even though the IVR knew, she knew who I was. And of course, I'm frustrated at that point. I'm like, you don't know who I am. I have status with you. You should know that my flight got canceled and have an answer for me. And granted, I probably should have been more calm, but that expectation actually exists in all of us. We want our partners to know who we are. We want them to anticipate our needs. We want to feel like we're being taken care of by these businesses. And so regardless of the industry, there's like 3 main challenges. One is, how do you deal with all the influx of volume? So here now you're trying to look at ways to provide automation, right? How do I reduce the number of volume of work and interactions? And that could be through a lot of the self-service and deflection strategies. And then when I do get connected with my customer, how do I create a personalized, hyper-personalized experience for them? And so to be proactive, to think about how do I anticipate my customer's need? How do I deflect? This is where TalkDesk is leaning into a lot of the AI-powered technologies like bots and analytics.
Yeah, I mean, I just hear your pain in that story you're telling, because anyone who's had to call anywhere ever, or even like a bank, and like I'm pretty sensitive to the data collection and that sort of thing. But you spend a fair amount of time giving them information under this idea that I'm now becoming more safe because I gave them the information that they wanted to verify, which means they should have had it in the first place. And then I get pushed to another person, or I push another button. Now I'm re-verifying it, but didn't you already have it? Exactly. And then I finally get to the live person, which we could have done in step one, and we would have been done because two people can have a conversation with each other. And I now have to repeat everything that I just either typed in or said again. And at that point, that's not a great customer experience, right? I don't know.
It is not. And guess what happened? They couldn't book me on a flight. No fault of the agent, of course, because it was the pandemic and there were no flights, or they were already booked. So what did I do? When I Googled and I booked a flight on another airline.
Obviously, when you're building something like this, data security has to be paramount, right? Because you're collecting so much information about individuals in order to personalize it so that it's more convenient. But when we do things that are more convenient, we also are now vulnerable in many different ways for that data to escape or leak in some sort of way that we don't want to have happen, right? Like I just mentioned with my example with the bank. There's plenty of times that they could have answered my question without having to verify my account or anything because it was just a general question. But I typed in or gave them all of this information that they said they were verifying to make sure that I was who I was. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'd love to hear from you, Clayton, like when you're developing these strategies, how does that come into play? And then, as the director of customer strategy, just hearing a story like Mimi's or just knowing from your own experience, how do you use that to kind of shape what you do as a mission? And if you have any examples, I'd love to hear them of how you've kind of taken this challenge, overcome it for your customer, for your partner, right, that you're obsessed with, and what that actually does for their ROI. Because any company that's going to implement your system, it's nice to have, and they can definitely see the value because your customers are your greatest assets. But how does it either maintain or increase income is going to have to be a conversation to be had because you come at a cost.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot there. So let me start reacting and unpacking a little bit, Phil. So I think the first thing you talked about was the security or concerns on that side. And so, banks is a great example. Hospital systems and HIPAA requirements is another one, right? So we deal with a lot of customers in these spaces. And in order for us to be customer obsessed, we need to make sure that our customers are also having their customers be obsessed. And I think security is at the utmost right now. No one wants to be able to give their information and feel like there's any sort of risk associated with that. So we have fantastic industry experts who can speak to the regulations along with that. And then obviously people on Mimi and other product related managers can tweak the products and ensure that they are at the most secure as possible to really ensure that nothing is being leaked through. We also kind of talk about the ROI side. So it depends as far as what they're really looking for. I think the travel industry is a really interesting example because, it could be, well, pandemic aside, the travel industry is getting a lot of calls where, hey, my flight just got canceled. I need to get somewhere else. I'm stranded. I need to get home to my wife and kids. But there's also getting lots of calls that are like, hey, what is my flight time? Is my flight still on time? Or what gate is it going out of? And to be able to further segment the type of interactions into what is the proverbial low-hanging fruit that can be really easily automated and customers just want the information fast versus what are the other ones where they really need a bit of a shoulder to cry on. They want some white glove service and really help them look at all solutions, both kind of straightforward and maybe less direct to get them home to something really, really challenging time of their lives. So we need to be able to serve the customers the way they want to be served, depending upon that urgency of need. So I think when I'm doing an ROI model or a business case or anything like that, it's first off understanding not just the quantified side, right? And what are the call volumes and what are the channels that are coming through, but on the qualified side too. Give me that story as to what's happening. What does a day in the life of your agent look like? What are their what kind of fires are they putting out? I think usually what we see on the agent side of things is they like putting out the fires. They like being the superhero. They don't want to answer the calls that are just, you're going out of gate B12. They really want to help someone. So giving them the opportunity to succeed is really exciting. And when it comes to the ROI side, again, I think it's critical, as we talked about earlier, to really appreciate where they are today and where they want to go, and both operationally and strategically. And that can really depend. I'm right now. The good thing is I've got a lot of cases going in any one time, and I can tell you about one. It's they are an insurance brokerage, and they pride themselves on answering every single phone in 2 rings, and they get a white glove service, and they are making their customers feel like as important as they believe them to be. That's a very different model than something the equivalent of, hey, your flight's going out of this gate. And so it's understanding how TalkDesk can align with those strategies. We usually see a really exciting ROI, but I think, usually it's in the hundreds of percentage points. But I think what's important beyond just getting that number as big and sexy as possible, and it is making sure that it's realistic and reflective of the opportunity in front of them. So when I'm building an ROI case, I don't have any goals in mind. Obviously, I want it to be a positive return on their investment, but it needs to really align with where they see their organization going and their current problems. And hopefully we can, as I kind of said earlier, illuminate some blind spots and help them see what we see as industry experts. But more than just getting the big number, it's ensuring that it's aligned with their organizational strategies.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're going to measure that in many different ways depending on the client. Maybe it's customer retention. Customer retention is how they measure their ROI. Maybe it's, maybe you're a staff augmentation solution for them in other ways. And maybe, they can build in a referral base that if you were satisfied with this, what's one person that you would recommend that also does business with us, because we want to bring this message to as many people as we can. Something like that, and it generates more. I don't know how you would that's a whole different thing, but you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So I'd be interested to hear, just taking that in mind, that what kind of guidance would you give people to come up with their own customer experience strategy, given the examples we talked about today? What's some high level advice that they should, or what should they be thinking about when they come up with their strategy to even engage you in the first place?
What I would say is, I think you really hit the nail on the head earlier on, right? I think every company's greatest assets, you said it's their IP, their customers, I would say maybe their employees too, but those are the big 3, right? So I think a lot of times customer experience strategy, a lot of organizations who are kind of earlier on in the maturation curve think they need to have a specific CX strategy. I would argue that this needs to be your organizational strategy, right? Maybe that's everyone is, no one's going to turn down profitable growth, and top line revenue growth never goes out of style, but it's ensuring that you're meeting your customers the way they want to be met. We use a lot of customer experience metrics, things like Net Promoter Score or CSAT, which is customer satisfaction, to track how they're feeling. And I think my perspective so far is I have to preach less and less how important those scores are and how strongly correlated they are to things like, keeping the customers you have, having your customers spend more money or refer you more strongly, or attracting new customers. But I would think in general, customer experience strategy is your organizational strategy, and ensuring that those are aligned. We will help you craft that both operationally and kind of more big picture, macro level. But it's ensuring that you don't think of those as 2 different things. It's how can you serve how can your organization continue to grow and serve its customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think, right, you can't provide good customer experience if your organization isn't healthy. If your agents and your people and employees aren't happy, right, that's not going to translate to how you engage with your customers. And Kate mentioned that, a lot of these organizations are already tracking a lot of this data, and this data is super rich information already. You already know a lot of the problems that you have. Your agents and your people can tell you, gosh, we try to solve this problem over and over again. This is a frequent issue. And so frequency is an indicator that there's potential opportunities to automate, right? Or self-service, because you already know the answer and the solution. You have all this rich information within your support desk. If you have a service organization where you can mine and take a look at the data and the trends, and then those are the opportunities for deflection. There's probably, use cases, types of conversations that come in all the time that, maybe aren't warranted for deflection because they're sensitive in nature and they really require a human to be on the other line for that, that empathy and the nuance. And so maybe that's an opportunity to actually do proactive engagement, anticipate the customer's needs before they have that problem or call in. How do you actually go and do an outreach, right? And surprise them so they don't have to be inconvenienced by calling in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, right? It's like anything else. People, if you want what they have, you'll do what they do, right? If you would take, medical advice from your doctor if they're healthy, right? If they're in poor health, you probably wouldn't trust them as much. Your financial advisor, if they're not doing too well, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? And so same thing goes with the company. If you don't start with your own employees as your own raving fans, how can they translate that to your customers to also make them raving fans? If they don't believe in the product, they won't believe in, they can't translate that. That comes out in every conversation. One thing I do, so I know I alluded to it earlier when I talked about some cybersecurity, some data security, but I think a lot of those questions are kind of inherent in every conversation centered around any type of artificial intelligence or machine learning or any type of operation that takes the people out of it, because at least, like we just said, the people can have that empathy and make a judgment call and do something differently. And that can be a source of apprehension for a lot of customers and a lot of companies to implement something like this, because it's one layer removed from their actual end customer. What have you seen as far as those challenges with people that like the idea that you bring to the table, but they're a little bit intimidated about using an AI solution?
Yeah. The data and privacy concerns are not new. I mean, they've existed even before AI. And I would argue that, in the days where each individual IT shop was managing their business's data, they were at higher risk than they are now, right? Technology has come a long way. We have the shared mindset of power of all these technology companies addressing data security and privacy issues, where I think that the risk is minimized. I mean, you certainly have to take precautions, right? There's ways to, flag PII data, sensitive data that needs to be encrypted. It doesn't have to be the business, doing their own coding to do it. There are solutions and technologies that exist. And with any trusted provider that is working in the cloud with your data, they've already thought about this, right? And this is why you do want to go with someone who is a leader, right, and has had experience working with thousands of customers, because they're going to take care of this for you. And then you can always add extra layers of security on top. Platforms most of the days today, they're pretty open to be integrated, meaning like you can add in a voice biometric solution for fraud detection to be another layer of security on top of the core solution that you already implement.
Yeah, what about you, Clayton? You seeing any? I mean, how do you feel about what happens when you're putting together your strategy and this comes up? I mean, I think the point that Mimi just made was valid, that you have greater resources to take more precautions and to do more to protect their data than they can on their own. And then there's other third-party vendors that are doing the same, that are much larger.
Yeah,
how do you address that in strategy?
Well, I think when it comes to strategy, as far as the level of adoption, again, we have a lot of different products, and depending upon their current situation, certain ones will drive more value than others. And I think a component of what I do is try to be focused on the specific features and functionality of Talkdesk that'll drive as much value as possible. But that is not just an objective outside looking in perspective. So I can say, based on your current operational situations, that following Talkdesk, maybe it's an AI driven component of the Talkdesk solution, can really drive a lot of value. But I also want to make sure that I'm collaborating with our customers and partners and understanding what their situation is. If they're less open to levels of adoption on AI, maybe that's not a place to start. And even beyond just the security risk components, we want to be not only driving for value, but at the same time be practical and pragmatic and understanding what's more easily adoptable. So it doesn't no good to have a really exciting set of PowerPoint slides or a solution that on paper looks good if it doesn't actually isn't pragmatic to be implemented. So we still want to work with them and understand, hey, what can really be done? Change is hard, right? I think we all know that. But understanding
AI doesn't have to be like all or none, right? Like,
absolutely.
You can say like if this is really sensitive and you're not comfortable like exposing these processes and automating it, totally fine, right? Let's start with something that's easy but still meaningful and impactful, and then we build trust over time.
Yeah, we see our customers gain momentum with the different features and functionality they use at Talkdesk. So if it doesn't where they want to start, if it's a certain component of AI, as Mimi was saying, let's start in other places. And as we've proven ourselves and seen the growth that we've been able to not only have on Talkdesk side, but our customers experience, then we continue to shift from a crawl to walk to run phasing.
Yeah, sounds like your solutions are, I don't know if this is a term you use internally, I don't want to offend you, but a la carte, and they seem autonomous in a sense that you can implement one, you can pick any which one that makes the most sense to start with, implement it, and still be able to implement the rest later on if you so choose.
Yeah,
without
absolutely.
one being
Modular, and you can orchestrate between the modules as fits your organization.
There you go. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, look, I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone listening has too. Just really quick, what's something new and cool that we can look for coming up really quickly with Talkdesk that you guys are looking to roll out? What's some inside baseball you can share with us?
Oh gosh, well, we do have a lot of exciting things that are coming out from our artificial intelligence roadmap. One of our goals is to help our customers automate the majority of their interactions. So there's just going to be some sneak peeks that are going to come out here pretty soon because we just got done with one of our releases. So if you keep an eye out on the interwebs, you might be able to get some info.
Yeah, well, that's good stuff. Well, thank you both for being here, and let's stick around for the Did You Know section.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Before we go, let's talk about Did You Know? Did you know that by 2025, Gartner predicts that proactive outbound engagements will overtake reactive inbound interactions? Acquiring a new customer can cost 5 times more than retaining an existing customer. Increasing customer retention by just 5% can increase profits from 25 to 95%. According to the Harris poll, 96% agree that the adoption of AI technology is critical for their company's business success. We hope you've enjoyed today's program, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Visit nvtc.org for more information.
We look forward to seeing you at next month's Let's Talk Tech with NVTC. In the meantime, follow us at Nova Tech Council on Twitter and LinkedIn, and remember to sign up for the latest tech news at nvtc.org.